Oh, good. Our vision for the BA Career Meetup Group is to create a supportive and collaborative community for aspiring and employed BAs. We are thrilled to have you all here with us today as we welcome Dr. Lizzie to help us identify the skills we already have to build a pathway to becoming a business analyst. My name is Janelle. I'm a member and volunteer of the Meetup Group and also an aspiring BA from Auckland, New Zealand. Our session today will be split into two parts. First, we will have a fireside chat with Dr. Lizzie, where we will be discussing few prepared questions, and then we will open the floor to the audience for Q&A. So to make the Q&A session run smoothly, once again, we will use Slido to collect and prioritize the questions. Please feel free to add your questions or vote for the ones you'd like to be answered later. All right, cool. So, wow. We have a lot of aspiring BAs. Cool. That's awesome. That's really awesome. So I believe we will definitely benefit a lot from the ideas and perspective that Lizzie will share with us today. If you are curious about what she will cover in the next hour, we just encourage you to stick around until the end and don't miss out the opportunity to interact with us. So our guest speaker for today, Dr. Lizzie Valentine, is an award-winning researcher and transformation leader. She has a wealth of experience as a CEO, CIO, and change and transformation consultant, leading some of Australasia's largest mergers, industry and organization transformation, and capability development challenges. Since 2017, she has been an adjunct researcher and teaching fellow at University of Wellington. She teaches in the Master of BA program and supervises PhD students in digital capability. Dr. Lizzie holds a Doctor of Information Technology from Queensland University of Technology and an MBA from Henley, UK. We are thrilled to have her join us today. So now, let's dive right into the interview with Lizzie without further ado. Cool. Lizzie, can you say hi to all of us?
Absolutely. Greetings. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou. Welcome, everybody, especially people that are tuning in from overseas. I really want to encourage you to be really selfish in this interview today, or this presentation today. While we are chatting, the first thing I'd like you to think about is where you've come from. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're an inexperienced business analyst, somebody who's never been a business analyst before. I'm hoping by the end of this that you will at least have a pathway to analysing the skills that you've already got and how you can apply those to the career of being a business analyst. So let's get started.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, I think there's already a lot of people will be curious with your background as well. So we understand you have never had the title business analyst, but how did your career path lead to teaching BA skills at the University of Wellington?
Well, that's a long story. I mean, as much as anything, if we could have thanks very much, there's the first slide. So the first thing I would say about this is that many of the jobs that you maybe already be doing or have already done have got some of the core competencies and capabilities of a business analyst in them. Remember, to be a productive person in the work environment, you need some of these core skills. Now, we're going to cover those in detail, but to answer the question, I started out really in sales and service. I ended up as a manager in a travel agency, for example. Now, you may think, what's that got to do with being a business analyst? But managers and supervisors need to do many of the same things. You have to understand your clients, you have to ask good questions, you have to continually analyze where you're at and where you need to go. And so if you are doing what a good business analyst will do, which is taking some notes, the first skill I want to highlight is that you need to be good at doing a current state analysis. Where are we right now? What's happening? What's happening with the finances? What's happening with staff? What's happening competitively around us? And so actually a sales and service environment was a really good background for me because it helped me understand how to listen to the client and how to do a current state analysis of where we are. That led me by means of being in the right place at the right time. But I've got to say to you, here's another skill for you. There's no such thing as luck. It's all about how you set your long-term career goals. So note number 2 to self, have I got good, strong career goals? Because you see, I'd already set a career goal when I was still in a sales role to become a senior manager and also to become involved in organisation change. And as circumstances would have it, it led me into becoming the National Manager Organisation Development in a bank. Now, that was one of New Zealand's largest bank changes, as well as one of New Zealand's largest bank mergers. And of course, those situations, OD, I've got to tell you, organisation development, is a fancy old-fashioned name for being a business analyst. So if you have been a business analyst that has come from a change management environment, you've already got a lot of the skills and experience that you need. Now, about that time, I decided I was going to start to think about setting up my own business. And I did that. It was all about people and performance in relation to people and technology systems. You see, back in the banking example, I'd been exposed to the very first implementation of a digital transaction processing centre. So, you know, the function of being an older person is that you've got this long history. So I became very interested in technology, and around that same time I did some study for my master's in business and ended up doing a special project, my capstone project, researching the convergence of knowledge management, which of course is the digital capture of information and knowledge from inside an organisation, and e-learning. In other words, what people needed to be able to access to do just-in-time type learning, not courses at that stage, but more like the kind of data access that you would get inside a call centre now. So to pause and think about you, if you're involved in a call centre, you've got great skills in getting straight to the chase, doing some of the core skills which are around eliciting the problem with the client, reframing back to the client your understanding of what it is that they're saying to you, and then either sending the problem off to the right person or finding a solution for the client yourself. And you will see how relevant that is later. And then ultimately, because I'd been involved in the people side of mergers, I became the chief executive of one of the big industry skills councils in New Zealand called Industry Training Organisations at that time. And that was all about technology and people and systems and processes, so on and so forth. And then ultimately that led me to doing my doctorate at Queensland University of Technology, where I'd become interested, having had that senior leader experience, in the decision-making and the governance of large-scale change, and especially around digital change. So to summarise, any kind of background that you've got a strong engagement with people, or you have got a role where you need to analyse a current state and think about the future and how you're going to get there, and roles where you've got that more general skill around leading and managing people, and roles where you are specifically involved in the intersect between people and systems, are useful backgrounds for business analysts. Next slide or question, please.
Yep.
So there we go. There's a wee definition. It doesn't say that you have to have a specific background or experience as a business analyst. What this says to me is that you need to understand the role and function that you're going to play as an agent for change. Remember that from here to here kind of situation that we're talking about. Analysing the current state, analyse where you're going, looking at how you're going to get there and the impact of the things that you're recommending. So business analysts are agents for change, but it is a disciplined approach to getting there, and it doesn't matter what kind of organisation you're talking about. So you can come from a for-profit, that's a corporate or a business, large or small. You might come from a government department, or you may have come from the non-profit or volunteer sector. You may have even not had any work experience at all, but been involved inside a community organisation, a faith-based organisation where you've taken on a leadership role of some sort, or you have done some of those basic things. Okay, so we need to go here. I'm going to treat that as a project. So the parallel set of skills to business analysts have a lot in common with consultants as well as project management. And next slide, please.
Yep, I think that's very cool, actually, how you trying to summarize the business analyst, because it just reminds me there's a quote saying the only constant in the world is change. So we actually need to adapt to change like all the times. And that's how business analysts, from what we are doing right now, we can actually digging in our unique value proposition, I would say, or maybe just a unique strength to actually how to apply to the business analyst role. That's awesome.
Janelle, that's such a great point. And I really want to pick up on that unique strength, because you see, not all business analysts are the same, and you don't have to be the same. You can be a technical business analyst, and you can be actually performing the function as a business analyst in quite a technical role. You might actually be working as a systems engineer. It's probably unlikely you'll be a dedicated coder, but there are other roles in there. So you might be more technical, you might be more people and change, you might be more generalist. But the one thing I would say is that we are living and working in a digital world. So it doesn't matter whether or not you don't come from an information or technology background. You do have to understand how your job, let's say you've come from marketing, what are the technology and technical implications of coming from marketing? You have to build your tech muscle up here. Every day, read something every day, understand what it means to marketing, to HR, to finance, to law. So you can come from any of those, what I would call occupational backgrounds, doesn't matter. As long as you understand the impact of technical change on your occupation, that's a good start. Okay, next.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's pretty much answer our following question like a little bit, but yeah, we would like to illustrate a little bit more like what other job roles do you consider sharing the similar core competencies to business analysts?
Oh, absolutely. We'll cover those in the next slides in detail. Yeah. So let's pop into the next slide. So here is something that all business analysts need to know for a start. So this is a little treat. You can have these slides if you like. This is definitely some intellectual property that I'm working on at the moment. But there's a difference between capabilities and competencies, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this slide. So here's the first thing. There are capabilities at an industry sector level, okay? So what's an industry sector? Well, that will be, we'll come on to that in detail. There are organisational capabilities, which are the source of competitive advantage to your organisation, or if you're non-profit or government, they are a source of you meeting the requirements of your agreement with the minister in New Zealand, your business plans and so on. So organisation capabilities tend to then relate to how you've got your organisation structured. And so that's about things like marketing, sales, operations, etc. And then capabilities are built by individual competencies. Now, we're going to deep dive into this so that you understand it better. But let's talk, first of all, on the next slide, please, about industry sectors so that you're clear what I mean there. So it doesn't matter what industry you come from, although some sectors are going to be more regulated, other sectors are going to be more technical, and some are going to be more people. But all of them have got technological impacts in the transformation. But an industry sector can be the military, it can be manufacturing, it can be news, television, it can be in the area of aviation or farming. So I want you to take a note. What sector are you familiar with? And if you've got no work experience, think about your parents or your close relations. Think about the knowledge that you've actually accumulated just because you're you. What's your background? My dad was a wonderful mechanical engineer. He was an aviation engineer, then a mechanical engineer, and then he was sick of getting his hands dirty, so he trained to be a teacher. And he was just a wonderful man. I'm enormously grateful for the capability in the area of thinking like an engineer that my dear old dad, who's long left this planet, gave me. But at the same time, because he ultimately became a teacher, he inspired me to want to learn, to be curious and thirsty every day to learn something. So to summarize, there are lots of industry sectors. They can be government, for-profit, not-for-profit, doesn't matter. You will have been exposed to the various industry sectors if you've got a wide range of experience. And if you've got no experience at all, look around you to your close family and contacts, your close community, and think about the conversations that have excited you about sectors. You know, do you really, really want to work in aviation? Boy, or do you just want to get away from people and be a farmer out in the country? Whatever. Let's have a look at the next level, because from an industry sector, then you've got these big categories of organization capabilities. Now, in the for-profit area, for example, you have got manufacturing. This is where a lot of these big companies actually seek competitive advantage through having unique capability. What does that mean? So a unique capability might be manufacturing in a for-profit. Let's think about my favorite example at the moment is car manufacturing. So the big companies like BYD in China and Tesla in the United States have got capabilities in car manufacturing. But so does Toyota, and so does BMW, and so does Mercedes. So how come Tesla made and sold more EVs, battery electric vehicles, than any other company in the world in the last quarter of last year? Okay, they have got unique capabilities as an organization that are giving them competitive advantage. So if, for example, you're keen on making cars, you've got some decisions to make now if you want to be a business analyst in manufacturing and automotive. Let's now think about aviation, another topic that's near and dear to my heart. Not all aviation companies are created equal. So you've got aviation companies like Boeing and aerospace that are manufacturing aircraft and rockets and things like that, but you've also got airlines. So you then start to think about how they make their money. Same with government departments. You can say, well, the sector's government, but not all government departments are responsible for the same things. So you might decide that you want to be a business analyst in government, specializing in social development, or specializing in building and construction, or whatever. So here is where you decide, do you want to work for-profit, for government, not-for-profit, or some of those other type organizations that are small, boutique, bespoke organizations. Okay, so the next one is around inside those organizations, you will get then specializations. And this is what I referred to earlier as occupations. So you might be into the production side of things. You might be into background research and development, sales and marketing. You might be more into the people side, or you may be more into the finance and IT side. Now, there are others, of course, depending on the kind of organization. But once again, for a business analyst, it's useful to understand here whether or not you've got any preferences or experience. Now, some of you with a bit more experience in the workforce might have got a background a bit like mine. So, for example, my background came out of sales and marketing. It went very much into people and performance. And then as a CEO, I went headlong into all of those things all at once. and then as a CIO back more into the executive leadership and information and technology. By the way, get the language, people. I never say IT anymore because people just think of, you know, people in a back room doing coding. It's about information and technology, and of course they're not the same. So next slide, please, because now we're going to deep dive into core competencies. Oh, back one, please.
Okay.
There we go. Core competencies of a business analyst. So my question for you, especially if you have never been a BA before, is where have you demonstrated these kinds of skills? Remember what I said at the very beginning when I was talking about my own career, sales and marketing, people that have done maybe call center or support center work, service center work. You may have been out in the community doing community volunteering or something like that. This is all about your skills, building that skill of engaging, which is around asking good questions, listening, reframing, which is in your own language, saying, so if I understand what you're saying, can I just check that we're on the same page? And eliciting the situation. So the first thing is around engaging with people and finding out what they're trying to do. Now that can be any type of organization, public, private, not-for-profit. You've got to find out as a business analyst, as a manager, as an organization development change person, as a training and development person, as a marketing person. You've got to find out where you're going, what people want. And so engagement and elicitation are absolutely central to the skills of a business analyst. Take the time to write down where you've used those skills, if not right now, later on. And then, as I've already touched on as well, this is where you really have to develop specialist skills, because that situation analysis is never just about one thing. Your client or the person on the end of the phone or the senior executive that you're working with or the board of directors that you're talking to may say, oh, we've got a terrible problem. We need a new CRM, a customer relationship management system. And it's always a good business analyst who will say, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Because it's always it can be the problem, but it can also be a symptom of the problem. And a good analyst of any sort will always keep asking questions until you can say, okay, so here is the main problem. Are we in agreement? And a really good business analyst will summarize that in a quick email back to the person and say, here's my understanding of what we talked about. Here's the situation. Here is the problem that you're trying to solve. And here are some of your initial ideas that you've had for thinking about the problem. So it's always about the situation. What kind of organization, what's happening from outside the organization, what's the competitive stuff, you know, what's going on around the organization, if they got customers leaving in droves, why? You know, those are the kinds of questions you've got to ask before you can say, yeah, actually, this is the problem, or do you mind if I suggest a slightly different problem as a root cause? So what you're always trying to do and what you've got to get good at is situation analysis, root cause analysis to identify the state of the problem, and then ultimately how you then use your elicitation and engagement skills to confirm that with the client. The third one is about then going away and saying, look, I'm going to do a bit of research into the problem, and this is where you will do a deep dive. What's happening in the external environment? What's happening inside? If they've been conducting staff surveys for the last 5 years that tells them that management's rubbish, you would be amazed in my consulting business, the number of firms that spend millions of dollars every year conducting staff surveys, and then they put them in the drawer and they don't quite know what to do with it. And it's almost always because they don't do anything, or they haven't actually analysed the root cause of the problems. So then you do that background research, and here is the next absolute core competency. You have to be able to think critically to get in underneath these problems. This is this cause and effect. This is root cause. Is this the actual problem or a symptom of the problem? Is it the problem or a symptom? And then you can get to the final set of problems, which is the cool stuff. You know, here's what we think we should do about it. Here's how we think we might go about doing it. And here is the impact and therefore the risks and resolutions to that. So to summarize, there are 4 sets of basic skills or competencies. And remember that capabilities, you will develop the capability of being a business analyst if you then look at these building blocks of being a good BA and do a self-analysis on where you've got strength and where you've got some areas for development, right? So I would encourage you to answer that question for yourself, not right now, but where have you demonstrated those skills before? Where have you been exposed to them? And where have you got strengths and skill gaps? Next slide, please.
Yeah, that's actually a good source for people who are actually feeling stuck in their career, current career path, or uncertain about their next step. But most importantly, not only find out what we're good at, but also what we really want. And then we just need to go and challenge the status quo and then be curious, be willing to learn and adapt to the new situation. Excellent.
Oh, fantastic, Janelle. I love that word curious. You know, my mantra for these things is I describe myself as a curious, thirsty learner. Curious, thirsty learner. You know, I think, and I want it, bring it on. I really want to understand ChatGPT right now. I really want to understand, and I'm already signed up and using the new Bing, for example. And what does it mean to me in my job? What can it, you know, how can I save time? How can it make me deliver better, faster, cheaper services to my students, to my customers, etc., etc. But look, this is a great question here. So how can the aspiring BAs map skills? All right, so we've already got a little bit of information about those core competencies and what they are. But I would really encourage you, there is a do a quick screenshot if you need to of that URL at the bottom of the page. The skills for the information age is something that I studied in my doctorate, which I completed in 2016, so not too far behind in terms of the currency of it. I have engaged with the Sophia organisation. I have used it myself. And actually, I am doing a full presentation in the next Skillsoft APAC meeting, which is coming up in, I think it's next week, or I will post that to you, Janelle, after this, so that you know. I believe it's free of charge, and Skillsoft have got all of these skills mapped. But the Sophia Online is a wonderful source of information. So the first thing I would say about Sophia is that it goes right from level 1, which is for people that have got no experience at all, right through to level 7, which is senior management and boards of directors, and everything in between. Now, as you can see out on the right-hand side there, it describes probably where you are at. And this is why I say to people, be real, don't be hard on yourself, but be truthful with yourself. When you're analyzing your core competencies against where you are, you know, be real about this. If you were to be lined up and questioned about your capability, what would you be saying about the level that you were able to work at? Unsupervised. And it's that last little word that's kind of useful. If you can work unsupervised as a business analyst because you've got all of the skills, then you're probably a senior BA. But if you've got no experience whatsoever, then you need to look at the skills and experience you've got and look at where you have been able to use those successfully, and then you can actually map your own skills against this framework. And then on the other side, what you'll see is within the framework, there's a lot of stuff on the Sophia website, by the way, but it's worth persevering with the navigation, because Sophia 8, which is only came out at the end of September last year, so it's right up to date, Sophia 8 is fantastic. They have already mapped some of the key occupations, and business analysis is one of them. Digital transformation is another one. So there are core technically related occupations. And the other really good news is that they have mapped all of the Sophia skills to things like BABOK, PMBOK, so business analyst body of knowledge, the project management body of knowledge, and about 50 others. There's just literally dozens of them. So you can, just to summarize, you can search against an occupation, you can search against the bodies of knowledge. There's a whole tab in there around body of knowledge. And specifically body of knowledge around business analysis is in there, and the framework has been mapped to that already. Now, here's the other really good news for people that are practicing inside New Zealand and Australia. New Zealand has got a whole of country license. So I'm chairing a conference in Auckland next month. And we are talking in there about the whole of country license. Okay, so this is a really exciting time. Australia, as I understand it, has also got a very comprehensive license. And what you will find is that quite a number of countries, I know we've got people from Singapore and Australia and other places, from China, in the discussion today. Just check to see if you've got this. This is great. Let's pop down to the next slide, because you'll be able to see one little snap of the detail. So here is the skills that is the highest level, if I recall correctly, around digital transformation. And so you can see down the side that there are categories: strategy and architecture, change and transformation, development and implementation, delivery and operations, people and skills, relationships and engagement. Now, those are absolutely core skills. At the top level, you can see kind of in the middle of there, you can see the category change and transformation. And then as you start to look, so that's the capability at the level out on the left-hand side of your screens. That is the actual area of capability you want to build. Then you've got a sub-capability called change implementation. And then the list goes down there on the actual competencies that you need to build. And inside each of those competencies is a range of competencies. And then on the far right-hand side, you've got the level that they cover in the descriptions. And so if you click on these, it takes you to a description of the competencies. And that's where you might start. So if you've got a bit of time, and remember, you're investing in you and your family when you do this kind of analysis. This is what I call a detailed needs analysis. And if you're clear, remember right at the beginning, I said, be clear about your long-term career goals. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be in senior management? Do you want to run your own business? Would you ideally, no idea how, want to work in aviation or in healthcare or whatever sector? Set those goals, write them down, because then there's a little piece in the back of your brain that acts like a radar. It will help you find. You just have to trust this. In my classes, I talk a little bit about it, but that's the power of goal setting. So here you can see how you translate capabilities down the layers into subcategories of capabilities, and then into competency clusters, and then into detailed competency descriptions at the different levels: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Cool. And that's pretty much all I can say without going into a whole lot more detail. It really is up to you.
Yeah. Wow. I can't praise enough actually how important it is. Like, even though before we want to step into a BA career, but this is just a roadmap for self-discovery, empowerment, and transformation for even our own life. That's just amazing.
Absolutely. Cool. And you know, the other point, great, you've just sparked something else in my head, Janelle. Thank you. The really important things, remember I said the different kinds of business analysts. or everybody needs to know how to operate in a digital world, but you can see from that list of capabilities, you can be into the strategic side of things, you can be into the people side, or you can be into the heavy technical side. All of those are valuable contributions.
Yeah, awesome. I really love the quote that you say just now, don't be hard to yourself, but be truthful. Yeah. Once you know you're inner driven, you will actually be on the right side. So cool. But okay, so the next one, we just want to ask you a little bit about like, what is your kind of like experience of working with people who transition into BA, and how do you identify the good BA candidates from other backgrounds?
Yes, absolutely. I think I've pretty much answered the how do you get them from other backgrounds. I'm really interested in the skills and experience they bring, but this is a very personal view. I have literally hired hundreds of people. My biggest team was 200. And I didn't hire all of them. I inherited some, and some came and some went over time. But the thing about it is a very personal thing. If you want to be a good change agent, you've got to work on yourself. Understand yourself. Where do you get triggered in unhelpful ways? Where are you feeling insecure? Where are you competitive in unhealthy ways? Okay, because what you want to be able to bring to a change role is your very best self. And, I don't know if I said it to this current class, it's just finished, but if you've still got mummy and daddy issues, figure it out, They have a huge impact on us. We've all been there. But to be a really top business analyst, consultant, senior executive, basically to be the best version of you, when you're employing people, you can tell. You just, they might not have, I've got depression, and many people suffer from, varying kinds of challenges around depression and anxiety. Everybody, myself included, do the work. Get help if you need to. Talk to somebody. But if you need to do the work, because it's a very personal view, but I have found that the people who are humble, who are honest, who have got good experience, who are more inclined to say, look, I haven't been a business analyst in the past, but I believe that this is relevant experience. And here is where I went. And this is what I did with clients. And I volunteered here, and the experience I got in project management. And here is where I contributed to a faith-based project where we had to build this, and that gave me experience here. Do you see what I mean? These are people who understand themselves. They understand that they made a contribution. They're kind of humble about it. But the ones who continue to grow as people are the ones I'm really interested in.
Yeah, awesome. I think no matter how as much as important that we emphasize about hard skill, but the soft skill is the one who truly spoke for itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Lizzie, for all this very personal and unique insight with us. Like, I think it's really inspiring and have greatly encouraged us who consider the career to change to a business analyst. Thank you for clarifying all the misconceptions and helping us better to understand the profession. So next one, we would like to jump into the Q&A session. And remember, everyone, you can still submit your question or vote for the one that you'd like to be answered using Slido. Don't be shy and ask away. So the first one, wow, we got upward is this one. How can I prove to the hiring managers that I have relevant skills to become a good BA? How can I reflect this in my CV so that I can get an interview?
Right, anonymous. This is really easy. The first thing that I say to people who I give feedback on CVs is every single time you apply for a job, your CV needs to be rewritten. Every single time. Okay, now you will have, if you looked into my my information management system, I have got education versions of CVs, I've got manufacturing versions of CVs, I've got governance versions of CVs. So, ultimately you will build a set of skills. But the most important thing is answer what the client is asking for. Write your CV and your cover letter to reflect what they're asking for in the advertisement and in the job description.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, the advertisement, this is my personal thing, is the advertisement, I think, is almost the most important, because the client is required to summarize the top skills or experience that they're after. Don't be put off if you haven't got 100% though, because it can still be worth submitting an application, and I'll tell you why. Because and look, men, I apologize, but women are terrible at doing this. Women always think, oh my gosh, I'm not 100% perfect, I need to be perfect, I can't apply. I'm getting a few nods. Okay, lose that thinking, because our male colleagues are quite happy to go, yeah, I've got a bit of experience, I'll put my application in. Now, again, I apologize for the generalized statement, but if you look at the research into the difference between male and female applications and recruitment processes, actually what I'm saying is pretty factual. So for both males and females and people who identify in other ways, the most important thing is to answer the question in the advertisement. If you don't have all of the skills, it's probably quite useful to say any related skills and experience. And sometimes, depending on the client, you can actually say, I have a very rudimentary or basic understanding of this, but I have been doing some study, for example. All right, so to summarize that first question, always tailor your CV to the job, start with the job advertisement, then go to the job description and make sure that you answer the questions.
Cool.
Oh, other thing is less is more, please. A busy consultant or a busy manager in particular, you know, I've had 100 plus applications. If it's a very bad cover letter, or if it's a very long, wordy, blah, blah, blah CV, into the rubbish bin straight away. Goodbye, don't want to know. Doesn't matter how good your skills were. You can't write a clear, concise communication. There's another core competency. Yeah. All right. Next question. Otherwise, we'll run out of time.
Okay. So I've been asking, I've been hunting for a BA role for the past 2 months in New Zealand, and most of them were looking for someone who has experience how to solve this chicken and egg issue.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we've covered that in the. I'll just answer that one very briefly.
Yeah.
You can talk about relevant experience gained elsewhere. My very good friend Ankit Sharma, who was the former chief executive of Todd Digital in New Zealand, said he never advertised for roles that had the title business analyst. He advertised for roles that talked about the work that needed to be done. And that's another way of reflecting to you that the job title might not be business analyst that you've had or you're going for. It might have been manager change, or it might have been change management, or it might have been people and performance analyst or something. It doesn't even have to have the word analyst in it. So you can apply when you believe, and this is why it's important that you do that skills mapping, because then you can actually see, well, I've been a manager organization development. How do those skills map to a business analyst?
Yeah, it's just like pick yourself out from the little corner and then look at the big picture.
Great. Yeah. Exactly. But realize that all jobs these days have got a core of skills that are very similar to the core skills of a BA.
Awesome. All right. The next question will be, would it be easier to transfer within a company for inexperienced applicants applying for a BA role for the first time?
Well, that really just depends. Okay. Very quick answer to that one is it depends how well you've established your credibility and how useful you've made yourself. I would say that the one tip I would give to first-time people that have come out straight out of university or school is that they quite often come out with an overinflated view of their own ability to do things. And a lot of people might go into, let's say, administrative assistant role. That's a bit classic, where people go, oh, it's just admin. My stepdaughter went into, she wanted to start working in digital work, doing digital work, and she had a great degree. And we had a fantastic discussion, and I said to her, it doesn't matter that you're going to be the admin assistant. You'll get that work done quickly. If you get that work done quickly, then make yourself useful. Set up a spreadsheet to manage things. Actually go in and maybe use one of the Microsoft tools around automating a process. You know, make yourself useful. In some of those. Don't be so arrogant that you are too important to make yourself useful. It sounds terrible and sounds so simple, but you know, you are junior, you want experience. The second thing I would say is ask for a mentor. You know, if you have got made a good impression, let's say you're a junior in one department and you want to be a BA in another department, ask your manager if it's okay if you go and find out what they do. Introduce yourself. So you need to be known for people to do these things, and ask really good questions. Don't just wander in with a cup of coffee in your hand and go, hi, how are you? What do you do? A good business analyst always prepares. What kind of work do you do? What are your current outcomes? What sort of problems do you experience doing that work? Do you see what I mean? That's different, much different from going, hi, how are you? Can I drink my coffee in your workspace?
It hit me really hard because I used to be an admin assistant few years back. So I actually can resonate so much with make yourself useful. Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, you know, Janelle, I picked that job because people always underestimate, oh, I'm just the administrator. I make them superheroes. I make them, you know, the superhero of office organisation. I never call them admin assistants because they are actually the glue that keeps them going. And if you're clever, you can do those things. You can create new systems. You can improve processes. You can, you know, tidy the cupboard.
Yeah, I think another great tips would be joining the community with like-minded people, just like BA community like us. That's how I landed here and then just have a chance to talk to you. I think that's just incredible opportunities. Right, so we just dive the next question. Do you have any tips for landing your first BA role?
I think we've answered that. I really do. I think you've got to be clear about what your career goals are. Look for roles that share the core competencies of a BA. If you can't get a BA role, look for jobs that are in that area. It might be project management. It might be an admin assistant. It might be process. I don't know. It can be anything.
Cool. Okay. The next one will be, thanks for introducing the importance of asking good questions. Could you please share some skills to ask good questions with us?
Yes, absolutely. So it's remember I said that situation analysis is always the one of the core skills. So asking a good question is always about finding out information that has got an open end to it. So yes, no questions are closed questions, open questions. So if the situation I was analysing was we've got staff leaving, so we're an IT department and more than 50% of the staff have left. What kind of questions would I prepare in advance? Good BAs prepare these questions in advance. Can you please tell me, what is the percentage of turnover of staff over the last 2 years, and has it changed? Because that will give you the information about whether or not the problem has been happening over time, or whether or not it's happened and then plateaued, or whether it's happened or dropped off. And then I would ask supplementary questions about what have your exit interviews told you about the reasons why people are leaving? And that would then lead me to questions like, what efforts did you put into training the managers responsible for those areas? Actually, that would be another question. Is this happening all over the division, or is it only happening in 1 or 2 teams? And then, what questions? So it's always a hierarchy of questions. And I think to summarize, it's situational. It always depends on the situation. And go back into those capabilities. Remember, what is the industry sector? You're going to have different questions relating to aviation than you are to farming. Then think about the subsector and what they're dealing with. So if it's farming in the Hawke's Bay, poor people at the moment, what are the kind of questions you would need to ask to be a business analyst to solve the size and scale of the problems that they've got in farming at the moment?
Cool. Yeah. On top of that, I would like to add on our founder, Sophie, will share a good talk next month about how to ask a good question. So stay tuned to our BA Career Meetup Group. We will release the event details very soon. So the next question will be, from your knowledge of Sophia Egg, market trends and amazing experience, what do you feel will be the biggest shift in the role of a BA in New Zealand in the future?
I think it's not just New Zealand. I think it's international. Again, my students, I introduce them to the differences between digital transformation, information transformation, and technology transformation. They're not the same. They've got different goals. So very quickly, I think the biggest shift and where BAs can actually get kind of interested and curious is digital transformation is about the business surviving in the future. It doesn't matter whether it's for-profit, not-for-profit, or any other or government organization. It's what's coming from the outside. So education, we're talking AI, machine learning. In fact, pretty much every occupation is now wondering, what are we going to do in the age of artificial intelligence and robotics? So that then leads on to if you're going to have a big change in the organization so that the business or organization thrives into the future, which is the goal of digital transformation, then the goal of information is how can we design our new systems to get the right information to make quality decisions. In other words, how can we treat the goal of information transformation is treating information as an asset, rather than just having random data coming out of all of these systems that is not helping you make good decisions just in time. And then the final part is then the technology, the platforms, whether it's on premises or in the cloud, the applications, and how you get the data from those new or improved systems, and where and how you manage the transformation to a better technology. So in answer to that question, the biggest shift in a BA, I believe, is going to understand how BAs can add value in a rapidly changing digital world. So if you come from an HR type background and you don't have a strong foundation of understanding of information, technology, and digital transformation, start reading, do some courses. You have to be able to meet the rest of the occupations. So if you've come from HR, you need to be able to talk finance speak, marketing speak, digital speak, technology speak. You have to understand. You don't have to be an expert, but you've got to understand from an HR or people perspective what the implications of technology change are to those occupations.
Right. Awesome. We have time limitations, so we're just going to pick out another 2 more questions. Yep. So the next one will be, what approach do you recommend for current BA students in New Zealand to gain hands-on BA work industry experience, especially for those with years of work experience?
Well, look, one of my recent students, I believe, has just jumped straight into a senior BA job, never been a BA before. And it's exactly the things I've been saying today. You need to look at the job. Let's say you've actually found a job and you've got, oh gosh, I'd love that job. Right now is the time for you to do that analysis, map your skills, go into the Sophia framework, map your skills, be honest about the level you're at, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Especially if you've been there for years, you will have invaluable, relevant skills, right? So it doesn't matter if you've never been a business analyst. I'd never been a business analyst, but I'd been a national manager, organization development. Tick. I'd never been a business analyst, but I became a CIO because I had that rich background in transforming organizations based on people, technology, and process. People, technology, process. People, technology, process. So for the very experienced ones, at least look at those categories. Where have you got people? Transformation. What have you done to bring people along as customers? Have you educated customers on new products or services? Have you trained people, etc., etc.? But you know, it always just depends. But do that mapping would be my first suggestion.
Yeah, I will just do a homework later after we finish the talk. Do mapping my skills, discover myself. Great. So the next one, I think you'll be the really good answer to this question. Is there a tip to become the best version of yourself, Lizzie?
Look, I'm a very old lady, and all I can say is, even at my ripe older age, I'm still a work in progress. The thing that is different about becoming more mature in your career and as a human being is that if you do the work and you understand where your strengths are and areas for improvement, where your inappropriate or ineffective triggers are and what triggers you and how to deal with that, I do believe that if you can approach that without being hard on yourself, love yourself, be kind to yourself. But understand that we all have in some like in the Sikh Dharma, for example, they talk about Satnam, which is your true identity. It's who is it that you really are inside. And everybody's got things that they need to get past, their traumas, their experiences, absolutely everybody. But if you do the work and you don't do it from the point of view of, I have to, I'm not good enough. Sure, you're good enough. You're good enough just the way you are. Are you effective is a different question. And it was a wonderful piece of feedback that one of my dear colleagues gave me a long time ago. Of course you're good enough. You're a wonderful person. But are you effective here, here, and here? And so you can ask for feedback from a trusted other. Don't ask feedback from somebody who might have some, mission to axe to grind or whatever, but you are already the best version of yourself, but are you effective?
Oh, so sweet. Cool. Really, really. Thank you so much. So, all right, we're nearing the end of our event, but before wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned today in the Share Excel sheet and make sure, I'm sure there's a lot. So make sure you write down your learning progress and share the thoughts on how we can improve future events. So, and also if you enjoy the event, please recommend our BA Career Meetup group to your friends and colleagues and give us a positive review on the Meetup page. We will upload the recording to our BA Career YouTube channel later if you need to refresh the content. So please like, subscribe, and share our channel. Finally, a big thank you to our speaker, Lizzie. Before we go, do you have any final thoughts or how can we learn more about you, Lizzie?
You can stalk me reach out to me on LinkedIn. I publish and I report and I do all sorts of things on LinkedIn quite regularly. I identify yourself as a BA because I don't always take everybody on, or an aspiring BA. I'm always very, very happy to connect in that way. So that's probably the best place. Do the Master of Business Analysis at Victoria University, either by distance learning, and then you may just come up, you may find me. I can see San or Young looking there laughing. San has just finished and a fantastic student. So I'd be very happy, especially through LinkedIn. I keep things like Facebook and what have you for my private life.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll make sure that we will share your LinkedIn link on our Meetup page later. Sure. So thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been a really incredible event and we are grateful for everyone's participation. So remember to join our community and stay connected with our like-minded BAs. And for those who are aspiring BA like me, so keep working toward our goals. We believe in you and I believe in myself. So I hope to see all of you in our next event tomorrow, where Sophie and Grace will discuss how to fit into the New Zealand workplace culture. So follow us on the Meetup link or connect with us through LinkedIn for more details. Enjoy the rest of your day and keep being awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you. Cheers.
Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, Jenna.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.
Be awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Stay awesome.
Thank you, Lizzie.